half an hour ahead. Jayadvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jayadvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jayadvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jayadvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jayadvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jayadvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Okay, we're discussing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Adi Lila. Okay, chapter 3 entitled as the external reasons for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. And this is text 111. We don't have a book. I don't know, I'm just a little more. How this wires. Tam Bhakti Yoga Prabhivavita Krit Saroja Asya Shutekshita Patona Nata Pumsam Yadyadiyata Urgaya Vibhavayanti Tat Vapu Pranayase Sat Anugrahaya. Okay, before we read translation and purport, let us offer invocation prayers. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalaka Chakshuramurtamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manovrishtam Stavitam Swami Rupakadamaya Murati Swapantikam Vandeham Shrido Shridokalam Shrido Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganam Savetam Savadutam Parijana Savitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Param Sahagana Avalita Shri Shakam Vitumshya Hey Krishna Karana Sindhu Dinagam Bhutmate Gopisha Gopika Kranta Radha Kranta Namastake Astute Dr. Kanchana Gaurangira Devika Aneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vanchakalpatu Vyashchati Sindhu Vacha Patitana Pavane Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Sri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, do you remember anything from the last Wednesday discussion? Was there anyone who was present with their mind and consciousness? Yes.
Tulsi was one of the gopi and the chant of the Tulsi was associated with the devotee.
Okay, we were discussing about Tulsi Devi and associating with her.
And also
by chanting on Tulsi Beat. Yeah.
Also when we offer the Tulsi leaves with Ganga water, then Krishna is object for devotion.
Okay, when we offer Tulsi leaf with Ganges water, Krishna is obliged to our devotion. Yes, if we do it with devotion. If we do it mechanically, then Krishna is not going to be obliged. Like in Bengal. Who is from anybody from Bengal? No? I mean, you hear stories in Bengal, people will put fish and put Tulsi on it also. Is Krishna accepting that? No, he's not going to accept it. It's not going to work. So it's not just putting Tulsi, it has to be in knowledge with devotion also, knowing what Krishna accepts, no? And for pleasure of Krishna. Anything else? Only Om knows. Okay.
Also,
Omniscient. Om. Both.
love devotion, you get the example of Duryodhana and Vidura that they
Okay, Duryodhana Vidura offering. Okay.
Krishna didn't go to the home of Duryodhana,
Okay.
even though he was giving
Okay, Krishna went to home of Vidura instead of Duryodhana. Okay. Okay. So,
Chappan Bhogila.
what's Chappan Bhogila?
Aniyar.
Okay. Yeah, that's all in relationship to Tulsi. Anything else except Tulsi we discuss? No.
Actually, we offer everything with unconditional love, with Nishkam Bhav.
Okay, Nishkam Karma, yes.
Krishna come on earth for 3 reasons. That to establish dharma, to kill demons, for his duties.
From which class is that?
Chaitanya said,
Last year.
yes. It's last week.
Krishna does not need our preparation, he needs the devotion behind.
Okay. Yeah, Krishna doesn't need anything from us. He needs devotion. But that is, devotion is, that's what we can understand when we do start practicing devotional service. That the essential ingredient for any relationship, it's not what one may offer, it's how is it offered. No, it's not just what. Okay, what or some object, thing, whatever, it may have some pleasing effect or on emotions, on consciousness, on relationship, but the more it is, how is it given? Let's say if I give you some prasadam, later on there will be prasadam service going on, and I give you prasadam and just slop it like it, here it is, take it. I'm giving you mercy, I'm giving you prasadam. No, that's very important, but you just slop it like this, would that be nice? And how would you feel? You'll be happy that you're taking prasadam? No, you will feel, why did he serve me like this? That's not service, no? That's like you would feel that it's burdensome for this person to serve prasadam, and he doesn't want to do it, he just wants to do it fatafat and just get rid of it, no? So it's not like what you're giving, it's not what you're giving. Many times, this is the subject, many times in the family also, let's say somebody may be giving so much, but it's not with love. There's not so much concern. It's like maybe some material things can be provided, but if there is no time and energy given, if there is no relationship developed, if there is, then what is that also? It's incomplete. Okay, we may say there is something within it, but it's not complete. So that also will not satisfy. So in everything in life, the best position is the position of mode of goodness. What is that? Goodness means balance. How do we balance things? How do we balance different responsibilities? How do we balance different dealings? How do we balance material with spiritual? Everything is a balance. That's pretty important. Of course, unless you can say, I can be completely spiritual and just focus on everything in relationship to that. But that's not our case. So everything should be balanced. And sometimes, yes, we may fall short to some extent, but other times we have to make it up. We have to be aware where we are lacking again within that balance. So that consciousness comes from Krishna consciousness. It's not going to be easy to understand where is the line of that balance or how to achieve that balance. You can't say, I won't study or I won't work. You can't do that in this position. You also have to do this. Or you can't also just say, I don't want spiritual life at all. No spiritual life. You also see those kind of people are disbalanced. They're not complete. They're not satisfied. They're not happy. So learning how to balance something, that's very important. But that is only possible, again, if we have good instructions, we have good association. We follow what Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita. We understand what are the qualities of mode of goodness, how to reach to those, to that level, develop those qualities. So that's only possible in that case. Otherwise, be very binding. And of course, what are the symptoms in the lowermost? Dissatisfaction, frustration. Okay. Anything else from last time?
You also said that it is supposed to be the bare minimum offering, like water of the Ganges and Tulsi.
Okay, bare minimum. Yes, because that's easily Saralta Susanga.
Yeah.
It's easily available. No, you can easily get something. But again, it's not that we just offer something that it's easily available and then we could be doing much more. Would Lord Ramachandra be satisfied if Hanuman would be just throwing pebbles in the ocean?
No.
Would he be satisfied with Hanuman? No. Hanuman has such a capacity. It's expected from him to do so much. So you cannot say, I'm Mr. Such and Such and I can do only that much. That's not, Krishna is not satisfied. Krishna knows you have a human form. In the human form, at least you should follow Bhagavad Gita. What to speak then of? Srimad Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now you're got. So at least Bhagavad Gita you have to follow to be a human being. There's a lot in Bhagavad Gita. Maybe we can twist it a little bit, making sense. It's towards the world. No, Uta. Okay, let's see. No, that's not it. Okay, but. So yes, so there's no limit to our capacity. What limits us is our mind. And this is interesting in spiritual life actually. When we practice spiritual life, we always think, oh, I can't do that. How can I leave my home and spend a few weeks somewhere else, practicing Krishna consciousness? Very impossible. Impossible. It's not impossible. Prabhupada said impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. There's nothing that is impossible. How can I, even if I don't do this, let's say something else. How can I come to the temple? It's so heavily raining. No, it's impossible. Mind makes so many limits. How can I this? How can I that? I mean, we all have it. So many different kinds of excuses. They're not reasons, they're excuses. Reason is something valid. Excuse is not. We have so many excuses not to do this, not to do that, not to surrender to Krishna. So many different excuses. But we see then when sometimes by the mercy of the devotee or devotees, when we are sometimes a little bit forced, we just do it. We just do it. And the mind is forced to surrender. And then it does it. And then you see, wow, I can do it. Yes, you can do it. I mean, it's just so interesting how mind is limiting us, constraining us to certain frame that this is who I am and this is all that I can do. But you're not your mind. Did we get that? That's not easy to get. We always identify with our conditioned mind, but we are not that mind. And then mind can also be molded. Or like stomach, for example, it can stretch when you eat too much, or it can everything can be molded. So in the spiritual life also, if we say, oh, I can't do this, this is impossible, but that's complete mono-ignorance. It means we are not ready to surrender, we are not surrendering. But then if that's the case, then how do we expect to advance in spiritual life? So therefore we need association of devotees. I know, I mean, I personally went through so many things, one of the first things that comes to my mind, it's like, 16 rounds, how to chant 16 rounds, this is impossible, it will take whole day and night or something, it's like 16 rounds, too much. So I don't know, I don't even remember, I just didn't think about that so much. Something I was doing, and then I think it took me 1 year, and I started chanting 16. But initially I taught 16 rounds. It's too much. I mean, I like to read books. I could read books day and night. That's a different thing. So it's just mostly reading, but chanting was little. Chanting, okay, something. And then I was chanting for a few years, and then anyway, somehow or other, I received the Gayatri mantra also. But before that, I was thinking Gayatri mantra, that's another 3 times a day I have to chant Gayatri mantra. then my mind was thinking, but too much now. 3 times again, I had to chant this also. Who will do that? Anyway, these are some silly examples, but there's so many examples. We always say, oh, how will I practice Krishna consciousness? How will I do this? How? But once you start doing it, then you see, what is the problem? It's just crazy mind. Just crazy mind that limits us. And it's not allowing us to taste Krishna consciousness, to practice Krishna consciousness. So everything is possible. It's not that it's not possible. But we have to surrender. And that's not easy. Yes, that is a challenge. How to surrender, how to follow. And then what is the solution? When we don't want to surrender, what is the solution? What's the best way to... okay, we won't say transcend, but we will say uplift ourselves from some lower conditionings to some higher conditionings at least. How do we do it? Service, but I don't want to do service. My mind is telling me not service. We'll do the service. It's too much trouble. I'd rather do something else. I have so many other things to do. Prasadam. Okay, prasadam. But something more important. And then you're like they use that expression, quantum leap spiritual progression. How does that happen? Fasting. He said prasadam. Now which one? Anyway, both. You have to learn how to balance again. What's the best way to advance? What's the best way to relate?
By obeying the orders of the spiritual master.
We didn't hear that. What?
Obeying the orders of the spiritual master, whatever it is.
Yes, that's true. But how many of us obey the orders of spiritual master? I'm too weak. Oh, I'm tired today. I have some other priorities. Oh, this has to be done. I mean, Srila Prabhupada, it took him, how many years it took him to fulfill the instruction of his spiritual master? No? He was told, go and preach. Of course, that's not like some trivial instruction. That's a big one. And that's like almost, but he didn't do it immediately. It took time. It took him decades. So yes, that's true, obeying orders of spiritual master, but who is ready to obey? We see many times people even give the vows, initiation vows, and later on they also struggle with keeping up to those vows. That's not nice. But then what can inspire us? What can also, in some ways you may say, force us to take the
Then we have a devotee association.
Yes, that's the point, association. Very essential. It's association, because when you're associating with someone who is practicing Krishna consciousness, then in some ways you're compelled also to or you'll be affected in some ways. Somebody who is a little stronger, who is fixed, who is determined, who has the taste, who is enthusiastic. And it kind of, it's just like they call it the jet stream, you just get into his jet stream and it just kind of pulls you, those car driver racing and stuff, and that's called a jet stream when you're behind a car who's like, running fast. It just kind of pulls you. It kind of pulls you also. So if we can make some kind of arrangement that we associate with someone who has that kind of enthusiasm, desire, taste for Krishna consciousness, then we will also be influenced. Of course, if we choose the other way, we associate with someone who has a super taste for material something, that's going to be a problem. Then we will be pulled in that direction. Okay. What else? Last time we discussed. So if you want to develop devotion, then again, just to conclude what we started with, then whatever offering we are making, that it has to be done with some consideration. Okay, how would Krishna accept this? Would Krishna like to accept this? It's not like, okay, I'm just giving something, but are we at least considering, would Krishna be pleased with that or not? Or how would Krishna be pleased with this? That's why one of the principles of deity worship is, or any offering is, if we don't like it, it's one of the principles. It's not that and then it's so necessary. Like we don't like it, then we shouldn't offer it to Krishna. It's kind of like this. Let's say something is too hot, and you're offering to Krishna, and then okay, Krishna can manage. I can, I cannot drink it. It's you can't touch it. It will burn your lips or everything, tongue. But Krishna can do it. You may say yes. All Angani as Sakalendia Vritimati. He can eat by seeing. Any of his limbs can do the function of any other. So it doesn't matter. Is that devotional? You can't drink it. It's burning hot, and then you offer it to Krishna, and only for 2 minutes. It will not cool down. Is that devotional offering? So that's what. So devotion is more important than the offering or item that it's offered, or something like this. So there has to be consideration. Okay, how will Krishna be pleased with that, and the way we are doing it. So this is what is important. So we see that here earlier we have been hearing Advaitacharya has been calling upon Krishna with devotion. Of course, Tulsi and Ganga, they have enormous weight in terms of Krishna liking it, and this definitely will attract him. But also the more important ingredient is how he did that. With what kind of devotion did he offer Tulsi and Ganga? Okay, so that's about something what we discussed last time. Or anything else? Any other point? Somebody wants to?
Prabhuji, you also said that Krishna doesn't see what you gave him, he sees what you give me.
Okay.
And he wants everything.
Huh?
He wants everything from us.
Krishna wants everything from us. Yes, Krishna wants everything.
Okay.
Because when you give everything, what is the story?
No, chapan.
No. No, wait a second. Keep that. Okay, what is the story in Krishna book? There's one story in Krishna book where somebody gave something to Krishna, and then what happened? Wait a
This is
second.
Sudama.
Huh?
Sudama.
Sudama.
Brahman. He gave.
Okay, Sudama. That's my story. I didn't think of this one. I thought of
His
something
story.
else. But that's a nice one, yeah. Sudama gave cheap tries, and then what happened? He didn't even expect. He couldn't recognize his home when he came back. He said, "Oh, that's it." I mean, of course, he was shocked. Sudama, yes. So he gave everything. Yeah. He went out and he begged what? Some cheap tries or something. Nothing. And Krishna was eating. He couldn't stop, and Rukmini said, "That's enough. You've become so obliged now, taking so much." So Krishna is very pleased with the devotion of his friend. And that's a very nice story because it points to Sudama also being a little bit attached, what we mentioned in the beginning. He was attached to his mode of goodness and conception that I'm very renounced Brahmana. I live a very poor, detached life. And so was Krishna happy with that? What do you think? Point, it's every attachment is bad. Any attachment that it's not used in Krishna service or it's not in connection to Krishna, it's not good. So that's why Krishna gave him so much wealth to see, okay, now what are you going to do with that? Can you use that in my service? So it's not just let's say I'm in particular varna, or I'm in particular ashrama, or I'm this, or I'm that. It's not the point. It's what are we doing with this? Or how are we connecting this to Krishna? That is the point. And not just to be attached, okay, this is what is important. No, what is important is how is it connected to Krishna. So it's nothing external. Anyway, we are just a little bit drifting from the point. But okay, Sudama received so much than what he brought to Krishna. I mean, you can't even imagine how much more. How many times more if he had an enormous palace with who knows, maybe even servants and everything, just for little cheap tries. No? So then where is the problem of surrendering everything to Krishna? Why are we holding back? No? Can you understand this? We are holding back. I don't want to give to Krishna. Rather, I'll just, I don't know, waste it for who knows what kind of nonsense. But they don't understand how Krishna reciprocates. Of course, Krishna knows what's the best for us and he will appropriately reciprocate with us. But we should have a little faith with that. Yeah, Krishna really knows what's good for us. Okay, what's another story? Anyway, now you have to, because I told you that story, now you have to come up with that story, otherwise I can't proceed. That's another story. Okay, on. Fruit vendor. You're reading too much. What are you doing all day? You're studying something? Do you have any other responsibilities in life?
Today my study started. Yesterday I was feeling.
Yeah, it's a fruit vendor, no? That lady with the basket of fruits. And she came and she gave Krishna, okay, you take this fruit and you take that. And Krishna was like this holding and I couldn't even hold. And then what happened? What she found in her basket? So many things. Anyway, that just simple examples. So why we wouldn't want to surrender to Krishna? Why we are holding back? What is it so valuable that we are holding back? That's another thing. What are we holding on to? Okay. Okay, anything else? Otherwise we read today's. What? Seva itself, in itself, it's a reward. Yes, service in itself, it's the reward. Because through service, we experience incredible bliss. Okay, we discussed already about it, so we won't repeat.
Even Kubja offered the wood pulp.
Okay, she offered sandalwood pulp. Okay.
Draupadi.
And yeah, but they had little motives also. Draupadi offered little something cloth for Krishna, and then she received so much cloth. Yeah, there's so many examples. Okay, yeah. Fine. Okay, so let's continue. Let's read today's verse. Translation. O my Lord, you always dwell in the vision and hearing of your pure devotees. You also live in their lotus-like hearts, which are purified by devotional service. O my Lord, you are glorified by exalted prayers. You show special favor to your devotees by manifesting yourself in the external forms in which they welcome you. Okay, so that's a nice prayer. It's very deep, meaningful prayer. So let's just a little bit more cautiously. Ignore concentration. Hear it again. Read it. Oh my Lord, you always dwell in the vision and hearing of your pure devotees. So just this statement, it's just so deep, meaningful. What is it when two devotees meet together? What do? They talk about sports or politics. Or what is it? When two devotees come together, they discuss how's the weather like, or what do they do? I mean, it's like, huh? So, yeah, Katayantas Chamam Nityam Tushati Charamanticha. They discuss about Krishna. They always converse about Krishna. So that's the vision of devotees. They always see Krishna everywhere. There's no point where they don't see Krishna or hear about Krishna. Everything is in connection to Krishna. And even you may say, like once I remember, there was one devotee who found something in Srimad Bhagavatam, and he asked Adbhuta Maharaj, he said, what does this have to do with Krishna consciousness? I forget, there was some example, something. I was completely off. You wouldn't say, what does this have to do with Krishna consciousness? No? And the Advaita Maharaj said that's the whole point, because the devotee's vision is that he will understand that this has nothing to do with Krishna consciousness, and therefore this is Krishna consciousness. Is that clear? So devotee is always Krishna conscious. He will understand how is something Krishna consciousness and how is something is not Krishna conscious. So that's always the vision of a devotee. And of course, hearing what devotees won't hear, he doesn't want to hear something that's not in connection to Krishna. And even if he's exposed to something, he won't be affected by it. He will just be completely indifferent to it. So you also live in their lotus-like hearts, which are purified by devotional service. How did Krishna appear? We know the story, no? From Vasudev's heart, that means chitta, from consciousness. Krishna appeared in Vasudev's consciousness, right? And from his consciousness, he was transferred into Devaki's heart, right? And then everything else, all the manifestation story follows. But before that, how was what had to happen for Krishna to appear in Devaki's heart? What had to happen? What happened before that? Before Krishna appeared? That should be.
Vrindavan was his...
Wait a second. Where's your hand first? What happened before Krishna appeared?
Prabhuji, Balram came first in the womb.
Okay, Balaram came. What happened before Balaram?
He removes the anarthas, the 6 anarthas.
Yeah, okay. So 6 sons, other sons have been. And Kamsa was representing what? Fear of material association. So we discussed the other day about fear. There was something about fear on some class, whether something. Anyway, I forget now which class. So fear. Devaki had fear of Kamsa. So that means devotees should first have a fear of material association, because we did touch upon association right now. No? Associating with devotees, or you're going to be associating only with the materialistic people. So who are materialistic people? They're just like Kamsa. So devotees should have that fear. That's a serious, that's a very strong word. It's very fear. We should fear. Yes, we should fear, because we can be affected. And we will be affected. So definitely we should have fear. So when that fear is there, then only Balaram can come and then purify us from anarthas. No? Balaram means guru. Balaram means that heavy Shakti, power, strength. So he will purify us from Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. No? He will purify. So then when that purification takes place, then who will come? Krishna will come. And Krishna will appear. So that's why that purification has to take place. Otherwise, if we are filled with anarthas, we don't have fear of material association, which feeds those anarthas, expands them, nourishes them, and so forth. It's like, then how will Krishna ever come then to our heart? He will not manifest. Of course, he is already there. He never lives as his Paramatma, but he will not manifest. So this is what has to be done. So that's why he always lives in their lotus-like hearts. So Krishna will always be there in our heart if we perform devotional service. That's what it says, which are purified by devotional service. Oh my Lord, you are glorified by exalted prayers. You show special favor to your devotees by manifesting yourself in external forms. Okay, so special favor. So yes, there is some partiality here. Krishna does show himself to devotees. Why would he show himself to someone who doesn't want to see him? No. And he shows himself in the form of, how does everybody perceive Krishna? Everybody perceives Krishna. In which form people perceive Krishna most often?
Tired.
No. All the people, everybody, in which form they perceive Krishna. Everybody, nobody can avoid. There's so many who try to avoid Krishna. They don't want to see Krishna, right? But everybody perceives Krishna. Everybody sees Krishna. How?
By Mayavad form?
What?
Mayavad form?
In
The
Maya?
Brahman form?
No.
Time or death?
At Nartam, nobody asked you anything. Super soul, no way. Yes?
Krishna standing with Radha.
Krishna standing with Radha. Everybody says no.
Intuition.
You said already, why are you making spoiling things? Where's your hand? Okay, Om Bolo.
At the time of death.
Okay, at the time of death, as the time, everybody perceives Krishna like this. That's why I said, you don't want to bow down, then you'll bow down at the time of death. No. So everybody perceives Krishna as what? As time. Can you stop the time? Can you stop getting old? Can you stop anything? No, you cannot. So that's also Krishna. Time I am, the destroyer of the universe, as Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita. Come, that's Krishna. So you don't want to perceive him. Did Arjuna like that form? Universal form? When Arjuna saw the universal form, what was his reaction? He saw that time, all devouring time, and what was that form doing? It was just, anyway, I won't know. Eating what? Prasada. Eating, he was busy having lunch, what? No. Yes, he was eating all the Kauravas, smashing, trashing them, chewing them. I would say Kaurava Chabana. Chewing on them, chewing Kauravas, and anyway, it was ghastly. It was really ghastly thing. So that's the influence of the time. So Arjuna was not pleased with that form. So therefore he requested Krishna, please, Krishna, assume your normal form, regular, original form. So that's why, what do we want? You can't avoid Krishna. So which form do you want to associate with? Which form do you want to have darshan of? So better to be a devotee. That's the point. Better to be a devotee than to have experience of such a form. So then, yes, it said that Krishna shows the special favor because it's just Prabhupada says sometimes in terms of partiality, why special favor? It's not really a special favor. It's just whoever wants something, that's what they get. No? You don't want to see Krishna. Okay, you won't see Krishna, but ultimately you have to see Krishna. You just can't avoid. And if you approach him as a devotee, then definitely yes, he will show special favor in manifesting himself. In his eternal form. Because universal form is not eternal form, it's a temporary form. It's manifested just with the universe. But if you're devotees and then we want to approach Krishna, and Krishna will manifest himself in his eternal form, which is the most blissful form. Every of such forms is the most blissful, most wonderful form. In which they welcome you. So that's why devotees want to see Krishna. That's why all the prayers, that's why the desire. And then why Krishna wouldn't manifest? He's there in their hearts. He knows what devotees want. He'll definitely reciprocate. Like there was one devotee said, Srila Prabhupada, when you leave, how will we associate with you? When you leave the body. One devotee asked Srila Prabhupada. So, of course, then somebody answered, is it through instructions, through your books? So then Prabhupada said, yes, through my instructions, through my books. But then devotees were still not satisfied. I said, but Prabhupada, if is there any other way? Can we associate with you? Like, can we have your presence also if we think about you? And then also Prabhupada, you know what he replied? He said, yes. Yes, if you think about me, then I will be with you. So what does that mean now? What does that mean? That Prabhupada is also like Paramatma? All-pervading, all-present, omniscient? What does that mean? Huh? What? He is God's devotee, definitely. But is he like Paramatma? Is he equal to Paramatma? Srila Prabhupada, no, he's not. He's not. But he said, if you think of me, and like here, what is described with such devotion, then definitely I will be present. Of course, that's something that we can't perceive. How is that possible? Means that aspect of Guru Tattva, because we know Guru Tattva is one of the tattvas which is very difficult to comprehend, to understand completely. But if you think of someone, then definitely he will be present. I mean, if you just think of anyone, somebody who is very dear to you or whatever, is definitely within your heart. But the point which Srila Prabhupada in this case, it's also that's even a little more advanced manifestation, that he can reciprocate, he can answer our prayers or our desires or our need to be with Srila Prabhupada. So that's something that Srila Prabhupada confirmed. He said, yes, that is also possible. How is that possible? Well, by Krishna's mercy, everything is possible. If Krishna sanctions, if Krishna desires, and what could Krishna, what would be the word? How could Krishna not fulfill any desire of his pure devotee? What could Krishna kind of forbid or restrict or restrain somebody who is his pure devotee? How could Krishna do anything like this? Definitely he wouldn't. So if Srila Prabhupada as a pure devotee desires something, definitely Krishna will fulfill those desires. And if Srila Prabhupada desires to respond to someone's sincere prayer like this, then why that wouldn't be possible? No? So that's why Srila Prabhupada replied, yes, if you're thinking of me, then yes, I will be present. I will be present. So that's quite something. So Krishna does respond, of course, to our devotion, but Guru also, if there is a strong affection and connection with spiritual master, then he can also respond. I also today, I had in the morning, just before Mangalarati, I had one dream. I mean, sometimes it happens. There's one spiritual master, something happened, some interaction, this and that. And anyway, there was time for Mangalarati. So there are different directions, different manifestations. Okay, so let's read quickly purport. Time is running. This text from Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, this is nice. So this is from Srimad Bhagavatam. Is a prayer by Lord Brahma to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna for his blessings in the work of creation. Knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be understood from the descriptions of the Vedic scriptures. So this is why knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be understood from descriptions of Vedic scriptures. You can't understand Krishna. Can be many times. There's so many arguments. Tarko Pratishta. In Mahabharata, it is stated that you can't understand the absolute truth just by dry arguments or logic. You can't. Ramanujacharya confirms this. He said, just by logic, you can't understand the absolute. That would mean that Krishna is subservient to logic and reason? No, he's not. He's not. It's a very helpful tool, yes, but Krishna is even beyond that too. He's not just limited by logic. So then how do we understand Krishna? Well, we understand it from scriptures. We have to accept the authority. So that's the rule of the game. It's like, you can understand Krishna by logic, yes, but you have to accept the rules of the game. What is that? You have to follow scriptures. Otherwise you can't. It's like, okay, I'm buying a new car. And now I want to understand everything about that car, how it works, this and that, but I'm not going to go for test driving. Is that going to work well?
No.
No. You have to test it yourself. You have to drive it. You have to follow the manual instructions, this, that, whatever it is. Especially nowadays, all the cars are getting more electronic. How would you say this? Electrolyzed, or I don't know how to say this. Equipped with so much electronics, all kinds of buttons and things and this and that, So you have to have idea, what's going on. You have to know. So when you know what you're doing and you apply it, then you can get results. You can't just use logic outside of the experiment or activity that you're supposed to perform, or you want to understand. It's not going to work. To some extent, maybe, but you won't have full experience. So therefore, Krishna also, if you want to understand Krishna, this is the point here. It said, knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be understood from the description of Vedic scriptures. So you have to use the Shastra. Shastras are perfect. Shastras are not, they're apaurushaya. They don't have any defects of imperfect sense perception or logic. Again, logic, Hanumana also, is defective. It's defective. That's why we have to use Shabda. And if you want to confirm whether Shabda is correct or not, well, then you have to follow the process. You can't speculate outside of the process. And if you're not serious to apply the process, then we have nothing to talk about. And what can be done? That's your loss. So for the example, the Brahma Samhita described that in a abode of Lord Krishna, which is made of Chintamani, touchstone, the Lord acting as a coward boy, served by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. So how can hundreds of thousands of goddesses of fortune serve Krishna? Meditate on this. How do they manage to serve Krishna? What do they do? And how do they, is there a line, one by one they serve Krishna on Sunday? How do they do it? That's all very nicely described also in the scriptures. Most often, what would happen? What happens?
Somebody gets
Something that I was just thinking, we are all in this world and we are in a particular stage of this ISKCON society and we are serving Krishna and but there has been so many Kali Yugas, there have been so many ISKCON societies, there's so many universes. I mean, how, there's even some ages before there has been Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement has been going on and it will go on. Where all these people will serve? No. If they all going to serve the same Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and same Krishna, but then how do you fit all of them together? How do you fit them together? Where does all that fit?
Well, because it's the material world in itself is only 95%, right? Not 99%.
No, it's only one.
So
It's 1/4.
1%.
It's 1/4 of the sum total of creation. No, that's not the point. That's not the point. If Krishna is one, then what? There are so many circles around Krishna, and when you get your turn, then you get ahead or something. How does that work? No, it works like this, that Krishna expands for each and every one. It's just like Paramatma expands in the material world for each and every one. You have your own Krishna in the spiritual world. Or at least you have a society surrounding Krishna in the spiritual world. There are many as such. That's the beauty of spiritual world. And you think, this is my Krishna and this is the only Krishna. How did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing in Ratha Yatra? Everybody thought Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is dancing with us. Everybody thought like this. They were not aware that he's also with the other party and the other party and the other party. How does Krishna expands with the gopis? Everybody thought Krishna is with me. That's the beauty of Krishna. Not this Krishna, there's another Krishna. Anyway. So that's the most amazing thing. Hundreds and thousands goddesses of fortune. Mayavadis think that the devotees have imagined the form of Krishna. Okay, here we have Mayavadis now. I know that's a big topic. Devotees have imagined Krishna, but the authentic Vedic scriptures have actually described Krishna and his various transcendental forms. The word Shuta in Shrutekshita Pata refers to the Vedas, and Ikshita indicates that the way to understand Supreme Personality of Godhead is by proper study of the Vedic scriptures. Okay, so Prabhupada emphasizes again the same point. One cannot imagine something about God or his form. Now, what can we imagine? Imagination means something that's faulty. Such imagination is not accepted by those who are serious about enlightenment. So we have to learn how to follow. We imagine so many things. We imagine I will advance in spiritual life like this, or I will live my life very nicely like this. There's so many different imaginations, but we have to learn how to follow scriptures and those who represent them. Here Brahma says that one can know Krishna only through the path of properly understanding the Vedic texts. If by studying the form, name, qualities, pastimes, and paraphernalia of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is attracted to the Lord, he can execute devotional service. And the form of the Lord will be impressed in his heart and remain transcendently situated there. So that's what it said. You clean your heart, and you start devotional service, and Krishna will remain present in that heart. Unless a devotee actually develops transcendental love for the Lord, it is not possible for him to think always of the Lord within his heart. So if there is no love, where is the question of presence? Such constant thought of the Lord is the sublime perfection of the yogic process. Bhagavad Gita confirms this in the 6th chapter, stating that anyone absorbed in such thought is the best of all yogis. Such transcendental absorption is known as samadhi. A pure devotee who is always thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the person qualified to see the Lord. So if we want to see Krishna, that means we have to qualify. How do you see Krishna? By constantly meditating. You can't see Krishna unless you really desire to see Krishna. And that desire will be manifested through constant thinking of him. So one cannot speak of Urugaya, the Lord who is glorified by sublime prayers. So that's another name, Urugaya, the Lord who is glorified by sublime prayers, unless one is transcendentally elevated. The Lord has innumerable forms, as the Brahma Samhita confirms, Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Antarupam. The Lord expands himself in innumerable svamsha forms. When a devotee hearing about his innumerable forms become attached to one and always think of him, the Lord appears to him in that form. That's interesting also. So Krishna responds to our desire. Whichever form, whichever rasa, whichever way we want to, that's why we are presented with different options. And whichever one might be attracted to anyone like this, then Krishna manifests in that form. So that's Krishna's incredible mercy. He reciprocates. He is ashray and we are vishay. We are tasting and he's providing the taste. So whichever way we approach him, Krishna responds. Lord Krishna is especially pleasing to such devotees in whose hearts he is always present because of their highly elevated transcendental love. So again, so much emphasis, transcendental love, bhakti, devotion, service. So if you do this, then definitely Krishna will manifest. Okay, so time is pretty much up. So any comments or questions on this verse? Nothing. Comments? Yes.
Krishna said that he is a cause and controller, and we are not cause, controller, or destroyer. Everything comes that is Leela. I wanted to know that why did he made the Leela of everything? Making the universe that.
Okay, everything is Krishna Lila. Why is universe also his Lila?
What is the meaning of the Leela of the Krishna? Like why, what he wants from the Leela?
Krishna doesn't want anything. Krishna wants us to be happy. We are the ones who benefit from the Leelas. He is already Atmarama. We cannot be Atmarama unless we are connected to Krishna. We have some relationship to Krishna. And Krishna's pastimes are a reciprocation to our desire to have that relationship. Okay? That's, in brief, in essence. Okay, then we'll stop. Shlo Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Go Premanande, Hari Bol. Krishna.